The intensifying dispute between China and Japan over a group of islands in the East China Sea.
Japan's ally, the US, confirms that it flew 2 military jets through airspace over the islands, which is space newly claimed by China. We can go now to David McKenzie. He joins us on the line from Beijing. David, as I said, the US confirming the fact that two B-52s unarmed flew over that airspace, which was declared a defensive zone by China. They were supposed to file flight plans. They were supposed to inform the Chinese authorities. They did neither. Can you tell us whether we've had any response from China yet?
Well, the Chinese ambassador to the UN has stated at a press call that China has its right to defend its sovereignty. He referred back to the Chinese Defense Ministry statement saying that this air defense identification zone, as it's called, is a way for China to ensure its self-defense. It's an area on the East China Sea which stretches out from the coastline over these disputed islands with Japan. Of course, this new news that the U.S. military says it flew 2 B-52 bombers through that area. They didn't announce their presence as the Chinese have stipulated according to their new rules. It's not surprising they didn't, Andrew, given the fact that this area is frequently used for training exercises for the Japanese, the Americans and others. So certainly it is, though, a potential escalation in this, the rising tensions in this area.
It certainly sounds like it, David. I should point out that the Japanese commercial airlines have been asked by Tokyo to stop filing flight plans to China as well, and it's been reported that the Japanese airlines are no longer filing any flight plans with China and still using that airspace. I just want to ask you, though, because China says it reserves the right to take emergency defensive measures against people who enter this zone without the proper Chinese requirements. Any understanding of what those measures could be?
Well, they haven't stipulated those, but it is clear in cases of these air defense zones elsewhere. What effectively they mean is an area where a country can have heightened response to any potential threat. So the U.S. has a similar zone around its coastline that it uses in the event of any suspicious or military aircraft coming into that area. It's a way for countries to expand the area that they keep a close watch on outside of their immediate territorial waters or airspace. So the Chinese have persistently said that the reason they are doing this is to protect their territory. Now, the problem with that is that the territory they are protecting is disputed in the case of the Diaoyu Islands and the Senkaku Islands, which are in the East China Sea and have long been disputed between Japan and China. So the U.S. and its military ally Japan are calling this identification zone a provocation, and Japan has certainly said that it takes it very seriously. Few analysts believe that there'd be any chance of a coordinated risk of something happening on purpose between the different militaries, but the accidental chance arises, of course, when you have China laying claim to this airspace.
And when the two sort of warships or whatever from both countries are eyeballing each other in disputed territory. David, I just wonder whether there's anything other than megaphone diplomacy going on at the moment. China and Japan seem to be addressing each other through their own diplomatic areas in their own countries. Is there any chance of the two actually getting together to talk things through on this, or has it gone too far now for that?
Well, I think at this stage it's not the right time for them to sit down and chat, given the fact that they are doing this megaphone diplomacy. Another thing to talk about today is the fact that China says it has launched its single aircraft carrier into the South China Sea. Now, again, this might have been something that had been planned for some time. Of course, China has disputes with the Philippines and Vietnam in similar sense that it has in the East China Sea. Now, this is all, many people feel, a way for Xi Jinping, China's president, to expand or flex his muscles with China's military to sort of put their regional stamp on the area from a military standpoint. In terms of relative military strength, China is still some distance from competing with the U.S. or even Japan in some of these areas. But again, they say that it is their territorial right to protect their region. The problem is, many say, is that these regions are disputed, so a unilateral decision could inflame tensions further.